Hello again. This time we're going to do week 5 in nursing informatics, where we covered how to uh, discern good information online from bad. I touched on that a little bit last week, but we learned some really good tricks as to how to do it this week. And the other thing we covered was the idea that patients or clients, if you will, are becoming more involved in their own care and learning more about their conditions because of the internet and the fact that they're connected to information like never before, and whether or not this is a good thing, a bad thing. And I feel it's both, but I'll get into that in a bit. I really sank my teeth into this class. I thought it was a really, really fun class, and the idea is that everything's changing, and being introduced to e-patient Dave, although I hate that name because it makes my head turn every time somebody says it. I wish it was e-patient Steve or e-patient Bill or something to that effect. Being introduced to that guy was very, very eye-opening. I really enjoyed that. What I took away from this most was I didn't really learn anything I didn't already know from the how to discern good information from bad. I think a lot of that I've just learned intuitively over the years. My BS detector works at a very high rate, and I think a lot of it was common sense. The idea is the information sourced? Are the sources credible? Is there somebody trying to sell you something? I mentioned a proverb to my wife a little while back that's sort of been sticking with me lately. We were having a discussion about what was it again? It was something to do with pharmaceuticals. Anyway, the proverb goes, "Look to those who are going to profit; they're the bad guys." And that makes an awful lot of sense to me, especially when it comes to online information. If someone is trying to sell you something, they don't have your best interests at heart. They have your dollars at heart. And that's a very important distinction. That's a theme that I found myself that I keep coming back to in this class because it deals with the online world so much, and the fact that so much of the online world is based around dollar collection and sales, and the best way to separate me from my money and how to decide what I need the most. Like that, I was really glad that was pointed out explicitly in class, just because so many people are ignorant about that kind of thing. And I like to think that my fellow nursing students are smart enough to be able to know when they're being sold something as opposed to when they're being told something. But I don't know everybody in the class, and I couldn't vouch for everyone, so I'm really glad that was sort of stated explicitly. Like I said, I really didn't pick up anything I didn't already know from that end of it. But when we started talking about how people, in modern times, people have access to so much information, and, what are the pros and cons of that? And the first thing that I thought of was, whenever you look up your symptoms online, first of all, you have cancer. It's always cancer. Or in my case, it was menopause, as I said in class. So it's not a very reliable source to go and look up information. And it's not going to replace physicians. Physicians diagnose. They have years and years and years and years and years of training, and the ego that goes along with that. And it's that ego that I think makes them so resistant to this idea. How many times have you heard of going to a doctor's office and I Googled it, and then, the eye roll, and here we go. And it's not just doctors, it's healthcare professionals in general. Okay, I think a lot of healthcare professionals are really afraid of people finding things out for themselves, because then what do they need them for? But I think it's wrong to have that fear. I think that, first of all, even the best doctor is only one man, or woman, for that matter. One person. And one person does not have all the answers. There is never, especially in medicine and anything to do with the human body, it's not black and white. There is There is very little in the universe, period, that is black and white. Everything is a shade of gray. And to be able to go out and get past the knowledge and experience and opinions of a single healthcare provider is a huge benefit. And I think it's very challenging to healthcare providers to sort of realize that, hey, maybe I'm not the end all and be all, because for the longest time they were. I mean, we've talked about in our other classes about how the shifting models of healthcare, from the medical model where everything is a biological process and we can fix what's wrong with it, to the behavioral model where it's like, you shouldn't eat fat, that's why you're not in good shape. And now it's the socioeconomic model where it's like, oh, well, there's a bazillion lifestyle factors concerned with what makes you healthy and what makes you unhealthy, and it's always changing. And who knows what model we're going to have in 5, 10, 20, 100 years. I guarantee it won't be the same one. And that's good. It's healthy that that stuff changes, but people don't like change. Especially people in positions of power. Because typically, people in positions of power give up that power when there's a serious change. And I feel the medical establishment especially physicians, okay, I mean healthcare providers in general, but especially physicians, resist the idea that patients can take their care into their own hands. And I am all for it. I think that the role of healthcare providers in the future is not going to be dispensing healthcare information. I think it's going to be filtering through it for the client. I think that people, as the internet grows and as connectivity grows and as people are allowed access to that much more information, I think it will be the job of the healthcare provider to be fluent in the language of healthcare, to be literate in the language, in the material, okay, and to say, okay, so you brought in this, and this information. Well, this is outdated, and this was proven not to make sense by so and so. But this one right here, yeah, you're onto something with that. I think it's going to be our job to help people find their own health, because I pointed out in class, and I wanted to make sure everybody else saw this. Nobody has more invested in or cares more about healthcare than the person getting it. Okay? I got into nursing because I love people, and I really derive a sense of satisfaction from helping people. But when I have 5, 8, 10, 20, whatever, how many people on my ward for my 8 hours, okay, yeah, I am focused on them and I care about them and I care about all of them, but not as much as they care about themselves. I still have my life back home. I have my kids to worry about. I have the things that I want to do, my personal aspirations and thoughts. And I'm not saying I'm not going to be 100% involved with my clients, but to think, to have that ego that I care more about their health than they do, that seems kind of silly to me. Even people that don't seem to care, that you know, seem to make the same mistakes over and over again. I think there's an ulterior motive for that. Nobody doesn't care about their own health. Everybody fears their mortality. And I think the fact that the internet has opened up the eyes of so many people to what's out there and what you can do and what's new and what's outdated, and just the volume of information is staggering, and the ease at which its access is equally staggering. And I believe that the role of the healthcare provider will no longer be to tell you, you need to do this. I think it will be, let me help you choose what to do. Let me help you choose what works best for you. And I think that choice is going to be more beneficial than the advice. I think that the fact that the patient is not, number 327 BX4 and is actually Jane Doe or whoever, the fact that they are involved with their care, that they are in the decision-making process and not just the target of the decision, that they help come up with their own treatment as opposed to following doctor's orders or nurse's orders or etc. I think that by them being involved in the process, that in and of itself will have huge health benefits. That sense of control, over one's own life, over one's own health, is so invaluable. And the fact that it's been ignored for so long really speaks to the ego of the healthcare establishment. It really speaks to the idea that we've studied this. We've gone to school. We've had the experience. We have the time, and we know better than you do for what is good for you. I think that that is the most egotistical attitude, and it is a terrible attitude. I don't think that there's a doctor on the planet that knows what's best for me, and I think if you asked 100 of them, you'd get 100 different answers. I know what's best for me. It's my life. I am the best expert on my life. And I believe that is true of everyone. I really think that people are you're going to see a real shift in the way healthcare is delivered. It's not going to be about giving orders. It is going to be about helping decide what is the best course of action. And our job will go from dictating what we feel that a client should do or shouldn't do, or what we should do with a client. I think that's going to shift to asking them, explaining to them the differences between different types of treatments and different drugs, different sources of information, helping them filter what's good, what's bad. I think it's our job to have extremely high literacy in our respective fields, and to help people who don't have that literacy to discern the information and filter through it. I also feel that there's going to be a heck of a fight involved, because anytime there's change like that, especially profound change like what's happening now, there is resistance. And I really feel it's going to come from the physicians first and foremost. They've been king of the mountain for a long time. That's why they make so much money. And it's not that I don't feel they're worth every penny. I think they should be paid more than what they are. But I really think they're going to have a hard time giving up that control, that power to dictate what is right and what is wrong, and to just be sort of on the sidelines for someone's life, helping them choose what's best for them. It's been a fun week, though. It's been really educational. See you next week.